strap yourself in, get a cup of tea or coffee in your favorite mug, get comfy, because we're talking life lessons. Welcome back. It is Steph here from stephjking.com, and I am coming to you from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. I hope you've been well. Today, I hope you've got your cup of tea or your coffee and you're comfortable, because we're going to be talking about my 3 biggest life lessons that I took away from in 2017. Now, I know what you're saying, but we're already halfway through 2018. Totally get it. It was just due to the fact that I was just reflecting back on just how different this year is for me than it was last year. So I pretty much wrote down the 3 biggest things that I learned last year, which I feel for me is probably the 3 biggest life lessons that I've made in my whole entire life. So I wanted to share that with you. So today's just going to be a little bit of a chit chat. So get comfy and we'll dive straight into it. So my first life lesson from last year that I brought into this year with me is I learned to love myself. But more than that was I learned who I truly was. So for a long time, I was actually living a life that I thought that I was being true to myself. But what I realized was I was actually letting all these external factors contribute to who I thought I should be. So I had people sort of giving me their opinions on how they wanted to live their life. I had, listening to like personal development and that kind of stuff. What we need to understand is people's opinions are purely their opinions. They're not always necessarily going to be yours. So it can be quite easy for them to influence your thoughts and your opinions on who you are and who you think you should be and how you should live your life. And I was that person. I was listening to all this information, and then I was changing who I thought I should be, and I was living that life. And when I actually realized that and I reflected on who I was and what I wanted out of life and what my highest values were in life, I realized that I was doing a lot of things that weren't necessarily based on who I deeply wanted to be. And I just cut it. I absolutely went cold turkey on all of those things based on my revelation on that it just wasn't truly who I was supposed to be. How I was able to get to that point was I cut everything out that I realized wasn't really who I was supposed to be, and I went within. I did a lot of personal development. I spent a lot of time alone reflecting on who I was, my thought process. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll drone out our thinking or our thoughts because we don't think we should be that person, or we feel guilty about being that person because we've got all this external factors like contributing to, well, you can't do that because that's wrong, or they may think it's wrong, but other people may think it's right. So it's about cutting off all those voices and really going into within and determining who you truly are. And that's what I did. I did a lot of personal development. I did meditation. I learned to be okay by myself and within myself, and knowing that what I wanted in life was absolutely okay because it's who I was. And you, me, just everyone has their own right to be who they truly want to be. And I just felt so free when I came to this conclusion, and it just helped in so many other areas of my life as well. I started speaking my own truth. So what that meant was I was attracting better people into my life. I was building better relationships because I was being true to myself, which meant I was attracting other people like me. And you may find that when you sort of get to that point where you're being really true to yourself, you might find that people sort of start leaving your life, and that's absolutely okay as well. I also noticed it really helped in my relationship, and as crazy as this sounds, so last year my partner and I had been together for 6 years, and I always had this underlying issue that just an abandonment fear. I don't know where it came from. I really need to dive deeper into that, but I just had always had this abandonment fear underlying in my relationship, as crazy as that sounds. And learning to love myself really helped with that, because it got me to the point where I was just like, well, if he is gonna leave me, then it is totally his loss. So that allowed me to have a way better conversations with my partner. It actually helped us a little bit better. And I don't know if he noticed this, but it's something that I noticed was he just respected me that little bit more, even, because instead of me just like going with the flow and just being really, just going with whatever he wanted to do, or with what other people wanted to do, not necessarily just him, instead of just like doing what I thought I should be doing, I actually was like, well, do I actually want to do it? No, I don't. So I actually started to stand up for myself a little bit more, and it made me enjoy my life. And it also sort of made him respect me a little bit more, because I wasn't so accommodating to other people. And we found that we were just having better conversations as a result of that. My second biggest life lesson is I learned to take responsibility for my own happiness. And this kind of interlinks with my first point, because when I was taking a lot of like self-reflection time, and I was meditating, and I was listening to a lot of personal development, I also realized that I was relying upon a lot of people, and mostly, again, my partner. And the reason why I'm using a lot of examples with my partner is because I did have high expectations for my relationship, and I relied upon him a lot to make me feel. So what I mean by that is, if I was bored, I would rely upon him to entertain me, whether that was taking me out for breakfast, or not even taking me out, coming with me to go do something, because I didn't want to sit at home. And it was also things like, if he wanted to do something but I didn't, and I didn't want him to go but he still wanted to go, I used to get really upset about that. Whereas I then kind of learned that, well, I shouldn't be allowing other people to impact me so much as I was, because I was letting it get to me quite a bit. So I learned to, whenever I felt anger or resentment or a feeling of sadness or being upset with another person, I tried to step back and even step away from the situation for a moment in time, and just really reflect on why I was feeling that way, because most of the time it was me allowing that situation or that person to impact me in a way that I wasn't taking responsibility for. So there was a lot of self-reflection, and look, I am not perfect by any means, and I don't claim to be perfect at all. So sometimes I do get upset. Sometimes I do let other people impact my happiness. And it's all growth, and it's all lessons to be learned. What I did do was I just got better at being able to stop in a moment in time and self-reflect on the reason why I felt that way. And that really allowed me to create my own happiness. I started living my own life instead of relying upon other people to always be with me. And whilst I love being social and I love having people around me, I also learned that I had to be okay to be by myself. So if I wanted to go out and do something because I was bored that day, and my partner didn't want to do it with me, and someone else wasn't available to come with me, I had to get out of my comfort zone and be okay to be able to do that by myself. And again, that has had so much more positive impact on my life personally. I just found more joy because I felt like I was back in control. And secondly, it also, again, helped my relationship immensely. It helped in a way that I took the responsibility off my partner. And I know for a fact that, he loves me and he wants me to be happy, and I want that for him as well. And I've had to learn that sometimes giving happiness to someone else isn't going to work, or what I define as making me happy could be completely different to what he thought, and vice versa. So I took that responsibility off of him. I started to communicate better because I knew the reasons on why I may have been upset or sad or angry with him in the past, and I started to look at myself to be able to take that responsibility and determine what could I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, but also what could I do today to make myself happy and not rely upon other people to break that or not. All right, grab your tea. I hope you've been sipping away through this conversation. Let's get back into it. So my third point is there is always a lesson to be learned. And what I mean by that is 2017 was a rough year for me. It was probably, actually, you know what? I've referred to it previously as the worst year of my life. And I'm not going to give you the detail of what exactly happened, but it was a very challenging year for me, and it was a massive struggle. Getting all the feels at the moment. It was a pretty intense year last year, and I won't say it was easy at all, because it wasn't. I went through a couple of things personally. So I went through a lot of emotions. You'd probably say that out of the 12 months, I probably, if you added it all up, I probably cried for a full 6 months. I may be melodramatic there. But what I sort of learnt was, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be the strong woman that I am today. And the first 2 points that I talked about around that I learnt to love myself and I learnt to take responsibility for my own happiness was a direct result out of what happened last year. So I no longer call 2017 the worst year of my life. I would probably call 2017 being the biggest life lessons that I learnt. And I am grateful for that. And I know that sounds a little bit odd because it was such a horrible year. So it can be a little bit weird for people to then reflect back and actually say, well, I'm actually grateful that I did go through that. But I think one of the things that helped me get through it was that I learned from a very early age that everything will always be okay and it's going to work out. And I remember just even a few years ago when I'd go through like a sad moment in my life, or a relationship breakdown or anything like that, I always knew deep down that whilst I was going to go through a period of like loss or grief or sadness, I always knew that I would come out okay. And I don't know where I learned that from. I think it was just one time where I thought like my life was over, it was the end of the world, and I got through it and I came out the end and I was fine, if not better. And I sort of reflected back on that and I thought, okay, I can get through these tough times and I can come out even stronger on the other side. And that's what I did with this situation last year. I sort of looked back on it and, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt today. Clearly you can tell that it still is a bit of a touchy nerve, but I've been able to sort of reflect back and deal with the pain and also be grateful for having gone through it, because I did learn to love myself even more and I did learn to take responsibility for my happiness. And that's resulted in so much more joy and so much more love and passion and drive in my life as well. So how can you not be grateful for such a thing? And going back to the whole knowing that I was able to get through whatever life throws me at, I've really been expanding on that more recently around, it's kind of like writing a pros and cons list. And this is in bad situations and the good as well. So what I've been doing is I'm reflecting back on those times in my life that I deem horrible or really sad or really upsetting, and I've looked for the lesson that I could learn out of it, or I've looked for the positive in it. And the same thing goes with good things. So if I've got this thing up on a pedestal here and I'm just like in awe of it and obsessed with it, that's not a good thing either. So I've learned that I need to then go, well, if I get this thing that I've got on a pedestal, what's the negative that could possibly come with that? And I don't mean focus on the negatives in life. I'm actually wanting to balance myself out a little bit more so the bad times aren't so low, because I can start to more quickly look for the lessons and look for the good, and vice versa. I'm not having these high expectations or putting things on pedestals because I'm bringing them down. So it's having that balance in life to appreciate the good and the bad times in life. Now, I know that this can be very challenging for some people. It can be challenging for me as well. Some situations I'm so angry and so upset that it is really hard to see the good in it or see the lessons out of it. It could take me days, it could take me weeks, it could take some people months or actually years. Some people never. Some people just may never get there. And that's, you know, that's okay as well. I don't expect you to, and I don't judge you if you can't do it. But what I've found is, for me personally, and I'm talking about my own personal experiences and my own personal opinions, and that is what I've found is the more I can reflect on it and self-reflect on me and how I handle situations, the quicker I get with being able to do it. So what may have taken me months could potentially take me weeks or days, because I know that I can control my emotions. And I know some people are probably sitting there going, but Stephanie, you have no idea what I've been through. You can't say this. And you're probably going to feel a little bit of anger towards me. And I appreciate that. I completely understand. Like I said before, I'm purely sharing through my experiences. I don't know what you've gone through. I don't know what you've had to deal with. And for some situations, I wouldn't know how to deal with it because I haven't experienced it. But that's just like me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know my experiences. So I'm not judging you. And I would hope that you wouldn't be doing that to me as well. So the reason why I'm sharing this particular point is, even though it could be a touchy subject for some people, it's because I know what it's done for me. And I'm just purely sharing what I've been through, my experiences, and what's helped me get through it. And if that can help someone else, then that makes it all worth it, really. All right, I know it got a little deep there in the end, and I don't know if you could tell on camera, but I did get a little emotional, but that's all a part of the game, right? All a part about life, and that's where life lessons come into it. Anyway, I hope you did get value out of this. I hope it has helped you somehow, in some way. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what your life lessons were out of 2017. I would love to hear what you've been able to learn, or even this year so far. We're halfway through 2018. Maybe you've had some really big life lessons already. Let me know what they are, and we'll have a chat in the comment section. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. Take care. I'm going to finish the rest of my tea, and I will see you in the next video.